Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Frozen Cups and Hot Chips. I am your host, Tidewater Terrell. We're so happy that you're joining us here as we start off the new season here in 2023 with a bevy of amazing guests. And of course, you know we won't disappoint. Joining us today is none other than the Special Assistant for University Advancement here at Norfolk State University, more importantly, working very closely with the University President, Mr. Marty Miller. Mr. Miller, thank you so much, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you here joining us on Frozen Cups and Hot Chips.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be your guest today and looking forward to this session.
Awesome. Your time is extremely precious, so we're going to jump right in. It is football season, as you spoke a bit off camera. And of course, we're going to talk sports, education, recruiting, revenue generation, and the future with Mr. Miller. But right now, with the football season going on, I understand that you have a little bit of jewelry that only a few unique folk have. Share it with our Frozen Cups audience.
Well, yes, today I just happen to be wearing the Green Bay Packers championship ring.
Wow.
This ring was donated to me by Joe Eccles, whom I played baseball for, and of course the Eccles Arena here, the basketball arena, is named in his honor. He was a very close friend to Vince Lombardi, he and Ms. Eccles.
Wow.
And in fact, Coach Lombardi used to come and visit them when he was down in this area. So this is something that I cherish, and especially during this time of year, I pull it out. I don't wear it too often, but this is Super Bowl time.
That's true, and I'm glad you touched on that because a lot of times when you talk to the fan base, they don't recognize the fact that it is about the ring. It doesn't matter how old they might be or how long it's been since you achieved and acclaimed them. It is about that Lombardi, so I'm glad you said that. But staying in that lane, talk to me about the Eccles. You said they were extremely, close to you. Tell me about that relationship.
Well, Coach Eccles recruited me to come to Norfolk State to play baseball. And of course, I played for him for 4 years. And I became very close with him and his wife, Ms. Eccles. In fact, it also developed in like a father and son type of relationship. And I spent a lot of time with him. I used to go with him on recruiting trips because he used to be do the scouting for professional basketball, baseball, and football.
Okay.
And I used to travel with him on some of those football games. So we just had a great relationship.
You touched on it as a student athlete here on this beautiful campus. Talk to me about, take me back to Danville, Virginia, that young athlete coming to Norfolk State. What was that like, being able to know that you were going to further your education?
Well, I was excited when I had the opportunity to come here to Norfolk to play baseball. Coach Eccles knew my high school coach, who was Coach Allen.
Okay.
And during that time, Norfolk State had really just started the baseball program, and they were looking for players that could help enhance the program. So I was encouraged to come here to Norfolk State to play, which really turned out to be one of the best decisions that I've ever made because it was a great relationship that developed for me as a student athlete here. And of course, I had a chance to benefit by playing for Coach Eccles.
Okay.
So it was just a great experience for me.
Paint the picture for us. What was the baseball scene like here at Norfolk State when you came to play?
Well, it's different than what it is now because, like I said, it was a very young program. I think they've only been playing for about a year or two before I arrived.
Okay.
But I can tell you the competition in the CIAA during that time was very, very tough. I remember going against teams from Shaw University, very strong. Delaware State was strong, but Maryland Eastern Shore during that time had a great baseball program as well. So there were some great baseball programs in the CIAA when I came here. So the competition was very strong, very competitive.
In that time frame, getting to play at a program in its infancy, was that a scholarship that you received? Explain to us how that came about.
Well, we can call it scholarship, but during that time, it was more or less like financial aid.
Okay.
You received the different types of financial aid that they had to offer during that time. And some of it sometimes included work study. But the kid that paid the bill
Okay.
And so that's how most of us was able to actually pay for our education here in Norfolk State during that time.
Make the transition for us. You were a student athlete, excelled here on the diamond here at Norfolk State. Now transition to the baseball coach. What was that experience like?
Well, it was one that I never expected. See, when I graduated from Norfolk State, I graduated with a mathematics degree. You know, so my goal originally in life was to be a professional baseball player.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to do. But what happened along the way is that at the end of my high school career, I had a chance to sign with the Baltimore Orioles.
Wow.
But unfortunately, my mother wouldn't let me sign because she had to sign for me at that time to sign the contract.
Okay.
So she told me was something I have never forgotten to this day, is that I wasn't going to spend my life running behind a little white ball, that I was going to go to college.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was angry with my mother for over 25 years because that was my dream.
Okay.
So, but it turned out to be one of the better decisions, I think, that happened for me. And so when I had a chance to come back to Norfolk State, I never intended on coaching. What happened, the previous coach left because he had taken on a new job.
Okay.
And the season was about to start within a 2-week period. So Coach Archer, who was the athletic director at that time, contacted me because I had returned back to the area and told me he needed someone to practice the team to get ready for the season.
Okay.
So I agreed to do that. So I noticed at the end of the 2-week period and the season was beginning ready to start, North State did not have a baseball coach. So when I approached him, I said, well, Coach, where's your coach? He said, oh, Marty, I forgot to tell you. We stopped looking, you're the coach.
Oh, just like that. I like it.
So that's how I actually got into the coaching business.
Wow.
I actually did not like coaching in the beginning.
Tell us why.
One of the biggest reasons centered around the fact that I could not understand why some players couldn't hit a baseball the way they should. They couldn't catch the way they should. And I was reflecting on my career, the way I played, and I tried to compare them to me. And that was not a good way to go about comparing players. So I just didn't like it in the beginning. So after the first season, I told Coach I did not want to do it anymore. And somehow, the summer went by, and North State never actually went out to search for another baseball coach. So when the season started again, they approached me and said, look, we need for you to be the coach. So that's why I think sometimes in life, destiny, you know, you just never know what's going to happen, what's going to be your destiny in life.
There's so many layers to you, Mr. Miller, and we talked about it off camera. We'll touch on it really fast. But take me to a moment off the diamond as a coach, where with some of those magnificent players that you had a chance to rear and bring up, where's a moment that you remember where it wasn't about strikes and balls and how you kept the weight back to make contact, but where you had to be a mentor?
Well, I've always believed a coach should be a mentor. We influence so many young people and help them to develop into the individuals they become. So my philosophy behind it is that I wanted to be sure that I did everything possible to make life a little bit easier for these young men when they graduated from college. I wanted to prepare them to become good husbands, good educators, or whatever field they want to go into. So I tried to teach them some life lessons that would go with them for the rest of their lives. And there were 2 basic things that I taught them. Every player heard these 2 things from me. One is you reap what you sow in life. And the philosophy behind that is that you have to treat people right the way you want to be treated in life. And the second fact was that one day you're going to meet the bear. A lot of them didn't know what the bear was. They didn't even understand that concept. But finally, one day, one of the players said, Coach, what is the bear? I said, the bear is life. I said, one day you're going to meet that bear, and you're going to have to make some decisions. I said, you may be married, have a son. Your son may need some new shoes, and you only have $5 in your pocket. So you got to be man enough to make the right decision at that time. Your wife may need a new dress, hadn't had a new dress in a year, and you don't have the money. So I said, you got to be able to figure out how you're going to keep everyone happy and keep things moving in your family, be prepared. So I tried to prepare them for some life decision that's going to come about. And the strange thing about it is 10, maybe 15 years later, I get a call from one of the former players, say, hey, coach. I said, what's up, man? He said, guess what? He said, I met the bear today.
Still indelible, impacts on those lives.
Yeah.
That's important. Again, another segue. You hit them. You've never changed the role in life of being that mentor. Right. So let's fast forward now. Athletic director, Norfolk State University. You were able to, proceed over some great players in a number of different conferences. What was it like when you first took that position, and what's the state of the university now?
Well, when I became athletic director, again, this was a position that I did not seek. In fact, it happened by accident. Wow. What had happened...
Oh, sorry.
We're all live. You're good to go. What had happened is Dr. McDemin, who was the president at the time, had returned from a sabbatical. And on her first day back, she called me, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I never forget, around December 15th, 2004. So at that time, I told my administrative assistant, I said, get some boxes ready. I said, the president is calling me back to see her on her first day back. I said, this is not a good sign. Wow. So I came over to the administration building and met with her. And during that meeting, she indicated to me that she appointed me to become the athletic director. I was totally shocked because at that time I was a baseball coach. Loved coaching, we were doing well, and didn't want to leave the field. Wow. But she convinced me it was the right time for me to come off the field to do more for the university than what I was doing at that time. Because she said these words that I just never forgot. She said, your university needs you.
Wow, that's deep.
So she told me to go home and think about it for a couple of days and come back and let her know. So I sat there in shock for about a minute. And I said, well, if I don't accept this, I said, you're not going to be too happy with me. All right, she said, I'm not. I said, well, if I plan to stay, I already can give you the answer.
Yes, that was a no-brainer.
So it was a no-brainer.
Yes.
So at that point, I accepted the position. So that's how I became the athletic director.
Wow.
It was different then than it is now. The institution has more resources than when I first started. The programs were kind of building at that point because we had only been in the MEAC a few years.
Right.
Had made that transition from Division II, so there were some growing pains. I can remember such things as I had to try to raise funds to equip the teams. I had to try to develop programs to support our student athletes academically.
Okay.
So it was a lot of work that had to be put in. That's really now in place now because our student athletes are doing very well academically as well as athletically.
Yes.
And if you can look around, we didn't have the facilities when I became AD that we have now. So we have really built and renovated a lot of our facilities. Eccles Hall, that used to be a facility with bleachers. Now they have a state-of-the-art clock,
Yes.
Seats, football stadium. We have seats there. We have a new track, baseball field. We built all this and new tennis courts. So everything we kind of upgraded.
You know, that's a great point. I was in Eccles just this week for that great game. Shout out to the Spartan men's basketball team on that win against the Central Eagles. Way to go. And you're right. You had a chance when you look up in the rafters, and I love the way that we capture the teams from the past. Looking at that 2012 banner when we beat Missouri, and then looking at the monumental win against the Crimson Tide in the NIT. When you look at Norfolk State, they program now, you know, well known. You got the band also making waves all over. This university, world known, world renowned. But you also see some of the other HBCUs in the nation. You know, the Jackson States. More recently, we see Ed Reed in a big dust up with Bethune-Cookman. What we don't know, but in particular, what do you think some of these coaches are seeing? What are they experiencing when they go to these historically black college and university programs?
Well, it's a big difference now. A lot of us have built great facilities. We didn't have these types of facilities when I first became AD. Even when I played. In fact, when I played baseball here, we used the city field, Barrard Park.
Wow.
We didn't have a field on campus. We used to travel what we call the Blue Goose, the little bus that we used to travel when we used to go play A&T and all those schools. So I'm saying that the facilities are much, much better now. So the student athletes really should be very proud of the progress that's been made at HBCUs. We work very hard to get to this point. We have great academic centers, things that we didn't have back during that period. So when I look around at North State, I'm very proud of how far we have come in those arenas. We have great facilities. Our student athletes have the opportunity to study in great facilities. Student athletes have a lot of amenities, yes, nowadays that we did not have. So whether they realize it or not, a lot of work has gone in, and a lot of people have paid a lot of dues for us to be where we are at our HBCUs. See, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize the value of HBCUs. We didn't get here by accident. You know, our forefathers worked hard for us to get to this point. So some of us just, you know, picked it up and continued to move it forward. And we were very proud because we always wanted a place to be proud of for our students and our student athletes. And I can remember days that I had to take uniforms home to wash.
Wow.
We didn't have the equipment here to wash our uniform. But the one thing I told my players, when we work on the field, we're gonna look good. Because I believe that your appearance is very important. So now they have trainers and managers. You know, I used to be the trainer and the manager.
Yes. And supplements. We saw that at the event, the tip-off classic. Supplements was the discussion. How they get boosting up the endurance and the conditioning. Amazing.
So things have really improved for HBCUs, and I'm very proud of what we have accomplished. And I don't think the world really understands the total value of HBCUs. See, our students and student athletes gain a great experience at our institutions. They create relationships that last for years.
Yes.
They have mentors here who care about them and their welfare. They are not just a number, but they're like our sons and daughters. And this is how we treat them, because we want them to become the best that they can become. Even when I came here, I have individuals who took me under their wings. Coach Eccles, Coach Price, Coach Archie. I can go right down the line. And these individuals made us. They made us do what we had to do. I can remember one of my math professors told me one day after a test, he said, Marty, I need for you to come see me at 3 o'clock. It was no question of whether I was gonna go back. The reason for that is they wanted me to become the best person I could be as a student in that class. So it wasn't a thing about asking. They did it out of love for your well-being. And this is why HBCUs are so important to me, because we still do that to this day.
That's right.
We cater to our students. We mentor to our students. We give them things that we know that they're gonna need because we have walked the walk. We've had that experience. We know what it's gonna be like for them once they cross that line
And get to that bear.
and get to meet that day.
You know, that was amazing. I'm going to get you out of here. We have been so grateful, and salute to the the television production crew and Professor Gibson and everyone for helping out on this project. We spoke a bit off camera, and I know I said, and I love the quote when the president said, "Your university needs you." That's amazing. Your university still continues to need you, from the vision, the expertise, and what is still going on in the future. Two-part question, and we'll get you out of here, Mr. Miller. Number one, what's next for you? What's on the horizon? What can we expect to see down the line?
I think that's a fair question. That's a good question. As you know, I retired as the athletic director in 2020.
Yes.
See, I thought I was finished and go home and catch up on some of the chores I put off for 10 years. But at that point, the new president at the time, Dr. Adam Gaston, asked me to stay on because she thought that I could help make a difference here at Norfolk State. So I thought about it, and I accepted the role that she offered at that time to assist her to help move this university forward. So currently what I've been doing is, what they consider me is the ambassador for Norfolk State University. I attempt to go out and create new relationships to try to help improve the funding for our students, and to broaden the name of Norfolk State, to make people aware of how valuable we really are and the contributions that we can continue to make, not only in this city, but in this world. So my chore is to continue to enhance the image of this university and help provide opportunities for our students that are going to help them to become all they can become in life.
Oh, I love it. And I called you a Norfolk State great off of camera earlier. And for anyone, when they mention Marty Miller, and you scoff that great, when we think of Marty Miller and his contribution to Norfolk State, if it's not great, what is Marty Miller to Spartan?
I never consider myself to be a great person. I've always pictured myself as being an individual who's tried to make a difference in the lives of others. I just enjoy trying to do things to help students to become all they can be. And if that has helped me to gain some of the popularity and the awards that I receive, then it's worthwhile, because it's not been about me, but about what I've been able to do to help others. And I feel that that's been my mission. I appreciate all the accolades I received, all the awards that I received, but they were never intended to be as far as I'm concerned. My goal was to try to make sure that our students would have an opportunity like I had when I came to Norfolk State, because when I got here, very poor. Everyone knows my story. My daddy gave me $20 when I left home to go to college.
Wow.
$7 I had to use to buy a ticket for the Greyhound bus. By the time I arrived, I think I had about $10. And when I arrived, the funny part is when it came time to pay the bill, I took out my admit letter, and I said, "You told me I could come, and I'm here."
Oh man, I love it. That's amazing.
So I've been trying to pay back that debt that I owe Norfolk State. So I'm still trying to pay back that debt that I accumulated that day I walked in as a student when I didn't have the money to go to college.
University says the slate's probably clean, and we're certainly grateful. There's no amount that we can put on that. Wise words from a wise man. He is Mr. Marty Miller. I'm Tidewater Terrell, and you have been watching Frozen Cups and Hot Chips.